Her stepbrother framed her for murder. But what happened next will shock you to your core. Betrayed by blood, trapped by lies, and fighting a battle no one saw coming. Watch till the end to witness the truth unravel in the most unexpected way. You won't believe who pays the ultimate price. In the fast-growing city of Zundora, full of energy and ambition, there lived a young woman named Zirwa. She was only 22, but her eyes held the wisdom of someone who had seen too much too early. Her mother died giving birth to her, and her father, a quiet man who believed in education, passed away when she was just 10. Since then, Zirwa had been raised by her stepmother, a woman who barely tolerated her, and her older stepbrother, Kamenji, who wore fake smiles and expensive suits. Zirwa wasn't interested in parties or power like the others in her age group. While many chased social fame, Zirwa chased truth. Her dream was simple: to become a criminal investigator and bring justice to the streets of Zundora. She had seen how lies could destroy lives, and she made a promise to herself to never let injustice go unchallenged. She studied law at the respected Ankara University, finishing at the top of her class. Her professors admired her sharp mind and quiet discipline. Meanwhile, Kamenji ran a booming construction business, or so it seemed on the outside. He had flashy cars, flashy friends, and even flashier lies. Zundora's elite saw him as a rising kingpin of the city. But behind closed doors, his business wasn't just bricks and buildings. It was shortcuts, bribes, and broken ethics. And worse, he feared Zirwa would uncover the truth one day. Though they lived under the same roof, Zirwa and Kamenji were worlds apart. She believed in truth. He believed in survival, no matter the cost. Every time Zirwa got a new award, every time her name came up on the news for her achievements, Kamenji would smile in front of her and boil inside. The truth was, he didn't just dislike her, he was scared of her questions, scared of her curiosity, and terrified of her sense of justice. Zirwa didn't know it yet, but her stepbrother had been watching her rise with growing bitterness. He felt like his life, his reputation, even his safety, were threatened by the girl who refused to lie. Zirwa thought Kamenji was just distant. She had no idea he was planning to ruin her. While she focused on her future in law, thinking about how to bring real change to Zundora, Kamenji was already laying traps behind her. He saw how people respected her, how officials started noticing her, and it scared him. In his world, powerful women were dangerous, especially the ones who couldn't be bought or fooled. To Zirwa, family meant support. To Kamenji, family was a tool or an enemy. And in Zundora, when ambition meets fear, betrayal is never far behind. Zirwa had always believed the city needed justice. She just didn't know she would become its next victim. Kamenji had always lived in the shadow of Zirwa's brilliance. Though he was 6 years older, with wealth, connections, and luxury cars, he could never command the kind of respect Zirwa earned just by walking into a room. People admired her honesty, her calm strength, and her clear sense of right and wrong, and it stung Kamenji deeply. No matter how expensive his watch, or how powerful his business appeared, it couldn't cover the rumors growing behind his back. Whispers of shady deals, fake invoices, and under-the-table payments followed him like a shadow. The final blow came when Mayor Bashiru, known for being strict and incorruptible, chose Zirwa to join the city's new anti-corruption task force. Zirwa, just 22, was now investigating the very world Kamenji played in. That very week, trying to act like a supportive brother, he offered her a gift, a brand new car. It was sleek, black, and expensive, but Zirwa didn't want it. She smiled politely and said, "No thank you, I'll take the bus like always." Kamenji's smile faded that day, though he hid it well. Inside, he was burning. That rejection wasn't just about the car. It was her way of saying she didn't trust him, and that hurt more than anything else. He realized then, Zirwa couldn't be bought, not with money, not with charm. She was too honest, too clean, and that made her dangerous. So Kamenji's love turned into something darker, jealousy mixed with fear. He started thinking, if she keeps climbing, if she gets too close to my business, I'm finished. And then came the thought that changed everything. If I can't silence her with kindness, I'll bury her with disgrace. Kamenji didn't rush. He was careful, calculated. He knew how to make things look natural. So he began watching Zirwa, learning her routines. He paid off a few crooked officers, made quiet deals with those who hated the task force, and found one key weakness: Zerwa's trust in people. He created a fake case, something small and believable, a forged report linked to a missing person. He made sure Zerwa would be assigned to it. Every step of the way, it looked real. She would walk into it thinking she was solving a case, but what she didn't know was she was being watched. Every move, every word. Documents were planted, calls were traced, and her fingerprint ended up where it never should have been. Zerwa had no idea. She thought it was just another assignment. She didn't know Kamenji was the one pulling the strings from behind, setting her up like a chess piece. While she followed the law, he rewrote the rules. By the time the trap was ready, Kamenji smiled like a proud artist. He believed she'd never see it coming, and when it finally fell, the city would think Zerwa wasn't so honest after all. That was his goal, not just to stop her, but to destroy the very thing that made her shine. 3 nights after Zerwa joined the anti-corruption task force, Zundora was shaken by the kind of news that froze the entire city. Mayor Bashiru, the man known for fighting corruption, was found dead in his private office at City Hall. The entire nation mourned. The media exploded. How could such a powerful, respected leader be killed inside a secure government building? But things got worse, much worse. The next morning, the police released shocking evidence. Security camera footage showed Zerwa entering Mayor Bashiru's office just 1 hour before his body was discovered. She wasn't just visiting, she was the last person seen with him. Even more alarming, when police searched her apartment, they found blood on the sleeve of her coat, a bloodied knife in her handbag, and her fingerprints on the office doorknob. Zerwa was arrested immediately. Her name, once spoken with pride, was now dragged through the dirt. Headlines screamed, "Star Law, graduate turns killer. Mayor, killed by trusted analyst." People didn't ask questions. They just believed what they saw. The evidence looked airtight, but something didn't add up. Zerwa didn't say a word during her interrogation. She didn't beg, didn't cry. She just stared at the wall, silent and numb. Her heart pounded not from guilt, but from shock. She knew who had done this. She knew this wasn't just a frame-up. This was a perfectly planned trap. One that had only one target, her. She thought back to the warning signs, Kamenji's sudden kindness, the gift she refused, the fake case she had been assigned, and now this. It couldn't be a coincidence. Someone had made her the perfect suspect. Zerwa wasn't just shocked by what happened, she was broken by who had done it. Kamenji. It all made sense now. Mayor Bashiru had been investigating corruption. Zerwa had recently joined his team. Kamenji, with his dirty deals and shady networks, had every reason to be afraid. Killing Bashiru wasn't just about stopping an investigation. It was about destroying the only person who could expose him. Zerwa. The knife in her handbag? Planted. The blood on her coat? Switched. The fingerprints? From the day she had gone to thank the mayor for believing in her, it was all part of the trap. But Zerwa didn't scream for help. She didn't plead her innocence. Not yet. Because she knew that in a city like Zundora, where truth was often buried under money and power, words weren't enough. She would have to prove it. She would have to play the game Kamenji started and beat him at it. For now, she waited, silent, watching. Because even in jail, Zerwa was still the smartest person in the room, and deep inside, she made a promise. She would clear her name, expose Kamenji, and bring justice, not just for Mayor Bashiru, but for every innocent person who'd ever been destroyed by a lie. Zerwa was pulled from her apartment in the early morning. Cameras flashed. Reporters yelled questions. Crowds gathered, booing and throwing trash at her as the police dragged her away. Her face was splashed across every screen, every newspaper. They called her the monster of Zundora, the genius turned killer, the traitor of justice. Nobody waited for her side of the story. The city had already decided she was guilty. And then came Kamenji. He stood in front of reporters with tears rolling down his cheeks. "I loved my sister," he said, his voice cracking. "But the law is the law. If she did this, justice must be served." The public praised him, called him brave, called him honorable. Some even said he should run for mayor. They didn't know the truth, because when the cameras turned off and the lights went out, Kamenji wasn't crying. He was laughing. He poured wine that night. He toasted himself. Everything had gone exactly as planned. The bloodstains on Zerwa's coat. He had paid someone to sneak into her laundry and switch it. The knife in her bag, planted during a staged visit from a maintenance worker. The CCTV footage. edited and altered by a corrupt technician he had blackmailed weeks ago. It wasn't just a frame-up, it was a masterpiece. Kamenji had built it piece by piece, like a building made of lies. Every detail crafted to look real. Every moment timed to destroy her reputation, her career, her entire future. And now, it was done. Zerwa was behind bars. Her name ruined. Her dreams shattered. Inside the prison cell, Zerwa sat on the cold floor. She had been questioned for hours, accused of things she couldn't imagine, but she stayed calm, quiet. She knew this wasn't just bad luck, it was war, and her enemy had started it with a perfect shot. What hurt the most wasn't the jail cell. It wasn't the handcuffs or the headlines. It was Kamenji's face on TV, crying fake tears, acting like a loving brother while stabbing her in the back. That betrayal burned deeper than anything else. Zerwa's silence wasn't weakness, it was power. She had seen too much to panic. She knew the system. She knew people like Kamenji, and most of all, she knew truth always left clues. Hidden, maybe, but never fully erased. She didn't know how yet, but she would find a way to fight back. Because while Kamenji celebrated in his mansion, thinking he had won, Zerwa was making a quiet vow in that cold, dark cell. She would rise. Not just to prove her innocence, but to make sure Kamenji paid for every single lie. He had built a perfect trap, but he forgot. Zerwa wasn't just smart, she was unstoppable. The courtroom was packed. News channels called it the trial of the year. People camped outside the gates. Cameras rolled non-stop. Everyone wanted to see the girl who went from top investigator to murder suspect. Zerwa walked in with chains on her wrists, but fire in her eyes. She didn't look defeated. She looked like someone who had already accepted her fate. When the judge asked her to speak, she stood up slowly and said only one thing: "I am innocent. I have no words to defend lies." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Reporters scribbled wildly. People watching from their homes froze. Everyone expected her to shout, to scream, to defend herself, but Zerwa gave them silence, calm, quiet, powerful silence, and it shook the room more than any argument could have. Judge Elder Masamba, a man known for his stern face and iron hand, looked her dead in the eyes. "Unless she can prove who framed her," he said, "I fear the worst." His voice was final, cold, unbending. Zerwa's lawyer, Madame Elora, was furious. She pleaded with her client. "Zerwa, fight this. Tell them what you know. Speak. Scream if you have to." But Zerwa only shook her head. "The ones who need to listen are already paid to close their ears," she whispered. Deep inside, Zerwa knew she was surrounded by people bought by her stepbrother's money. Kamenji had silenced key witnesses, bribed 2 jury members, planted fake testimonies that painted Zerwa as an angry, jealous girl who wanted power. No truth could break through the lies now. It was a show, and she was cast as the villain. Evidence after evidence was thrown in her face. The blood on her coat, the knife, the fingerprints, the video footage. It was like watching a storm crash down, and she had no umbrella. No one believed her. No one dared to even question the story. And the more she stayed quiet, the more people believed she was guilty. Every night, back in her cell, Zerwa stared at the cracks in the ceiling. She thought about her father, about her dream, about the day she graduated, and how proud she felt. Now, that life felt like a dream someone else had lived. She wasn't scared of prison. What scared her was the thought that Kamenji would keep walking free, smiling, winning. But even in silence, her mind was loud. Zerwa was watching, observing. She had seen something, a small detail in the courtroom, a moment during testimony, a flicker in a witness's face. She couldn't speak yet, not until she was sure. For now, she waited, prepared for the worst. Everyone thought she had given up, but Zerwa wasn't giving up. She was planning something bigger, something no one, especially Kamenji, would ever see coming. While the city of Zundora moved on and Zerwa waited in silence behind bars, a quiet storm began to stir far away from the noise of the courtroom. Nando, a blind journalist known for his sharp instincts and unmatched memory, sat in his modest office, replaying the news in his mind. He had interviewed Zerwa 2 years ago for a university paper and still remembered her calm voice, steady words, and clear conscience. When he heard she had been arrested for murder, something didn't sit right. "I know a liar by their breath," he muttered to his assistant Ifona. "And that girl smells of truth." Nando couldn't see, but he had eyes sharper than most. And he had a habit. He never let a good story lie flat if it didn't add up. He asked Ifona to gather every public detail about the case: news reports, press statement, court footage. He listened to every word. The more he heard, the more convinced he became. Zerwa was innocent. He began digging quietly. Nando didn't need to chase clues like other reporters. He followed money. If you want to catch a snake, he told Ifona, you follow the grass it slithers on. So they started with the mayor's office: bank transfers, staff shifts, cleaning schedules. Ifona, a tech-savvy and curious mind, helped him trace unusual payments linked to City Hall. One name popped up: Barker, an unpaid part-time cleaner who suddenly received an offer of $5,000 days before the murder. Nando requested a meeting. Barker, jittery and afraid, tried to deny everything, but Nando's voice was calm, unshaking. I don't need to see your eyes, he said softly. I can hear the guilt trembling in your throat. Barker broke down. He confessed that a man had paid him to place a coat with blood behind the mayor's desk, and that same man gave him strict instructions never to speak of it. That man? Kamenji, Zerwa's stepbrother. Nando didn't cheer. He didn't jump. He only nodded and said, truth hides, but it breathes, and I just felt it inhale. He recorded Barker's confession. Then he began connecting other dots: fake witnesses, forged CCTV footage, and bank accounts linked to bribe. Each thread led back to the same name, Kamenji. But Nando knew he couldn't take this to the police yet. He needed more. Solid, unbreakable truth. He told Ifona, we're not just saving Zerwa, we're exposing a web. As the city continued believing a lie, Nando's quiet mission was building speed. He wasn't just writing a story, he was rewriting fate. And Zerwa, still silent in prison, had no idea that far away, a blind man was opening eyes that had long been shut. What Kamenji thought was a perfect frame was starting to crack, and soon it would collapse. Nando knew he was close, but to bring Kamenji down, he needed something concrete, something that couldn't be denied or twisted. Words alone wouldn't cut it. He needed proof, something Kamenji himself had said, something recorded. Nando trusted Ifona completely and asked her to get closer to Kamenji's inner circle. She worked quietly, using her charm and careful questions to befriend Kamenji's personal driver, a man named Jabari. Jabari was cautious but tired of being part of a dirty game. Ifona convinced him that helping Zerwa was the right thing to do. One evening, Jabari took his phone with him to Kamenji's house. While Kamenji and his friends were deep in conversation, Jabari pretended to be asleep in his car outside, but left his phone recording in the lounge, hidden beneath a pile of clothes. For hours, the phone captured everything: muffled laughs, whispered plans, and then Kamenji's cold, clear voice. Zerwa was always too smart. She thought truth would save her. But I own this city, he said, pride dripping from every word. Hearing that, Nando's heart raced. That single sentence was more than a confession. It was a declaration of power, control, and guilt. It was the undeniable proof he needed. Nando didn't waste time. He took the recording straight to the courthouse, where the trial was still ongoing, with the whole city watching. When he arrived, reporters swarmed him, sensing something big. In the courtroom, the judge was stunned. Lawyers shuffled papers, and whispers filled the room. Nando played the recording for everyone to hear. The courtroom fell silent, except for Kamenji's voice, echoing like a verdict itself. That moment changed everything. Kamenji's confident mask cracked. His empire of lies began to crumble. The city of Zundora, hungry for justice, finally saw the truth. Nando smiled quietly. What started as a blind man's suspicion was now the spark of a revolution. Zerwa's name was cleared, not by chance, but by courage and a hidden voice that refused to stay silent. The courtroom was filled to the brim, every seat taken, tension thick in the air. People whispered anxiously, waiting for the judge's final words on Zerwa's fate. The atmosphere was heavy, filled with expectation and fear. Just then, the doors swung open, and Nando stepped in, calm but determined. All eyes turned toward him. Without wasting a moment, Nando walked up to the front and pulled out his phone. The room fell silent, sensing something important was about to happen. He hit play, and Kamenji's voice echoed through the courtroom. Zerwa was always too smart. She thought truth would save her. But I own this city. The reaction was instant. Gasps filled the room. Some people screamed in shock, and then a heavy silence settled over everyone. Kamenji's face paled. His confident facade shattered in seconds. He tried to stand and run, desperation flashing in his eyes. But officers were quick. They grabbed him firmly, pinning him down before he could escape. Zerwa's lawyer, seizing the moment, stood up and shouted for justice. "This recording proves the truth. Zerwa was framed. We demand a retrial immediately." The judge, Elder Masamba, nodded solemnly. He ordered the court clerk to begin a new investigation at once, promising a fair trial this time. Within less than a day, everything changed. The charges against Zerwa were dropped completely. The evidence used to convict her was proven fake and planted by Kamenji himself. The city buzzed with relief and shock, finally realizing how deep the corruption ran. Meanwhile, Kamenji faced serious consequences. He was charged with murder, for framing Zerwa for the mayor's death, evidence tampering, for faking the CCTV footage and planting false proof, and defamation, for destroying Zerwa's reputation. His empire of lies collapsed around him as the truth came out in full force. The media captured every moment. Headlines shouted about justice served and the brave woman who never gave up. People praised Nando's relentless pursuit of the truth and Zerwa's silent strength through it all. The story spread like wildfire, inspiring many to stand against corruption and injustice in Zundora. Zerwa was finally free, her name cleared in the eyes of the law and the public. The same city that once doubted her now celebrated her courage and brilliance. Kamenji, once powerful and feared, was now behind bars, facing the consequences of his evil deeds. In the end, justice won because one hidden voice refused to stay silent. The city of Zundora learned a harsh lesson. No matter how dark the lies, truth has a way of shining through. Zerwa walked out of prison with a quiet strength that surprised everyone. She wasn't angry or bitter. Instead, there was a calm confidence in her steps. The crowd that had once shouted accusations now fell silent, many bowing their heads in respect as she passed. The city's newspapers splashed her face across every front page, calling her the lioness of truth. Her story became a symbol of courage and justice, inspiring people all over Zundora. Despite the fame and attention, Zerwa stayed humble. She didn't boast or gloat about what she had been through. She didn't launch attacks against Kamenji, even though he had betrayed her so deeply. Instead, in a simple, powerful statement, she said, "Some people destroy others to feel powerful, but power built on lies is just a shadow." Her words carried the weight of her experience and the wisdom she had gained. She showed that real strength comes not from tearing others down, but from standing firm in truth. Meanwhile, Kamenji's fate was sealed. The court sentenced him to 28 years in Zundora Central Prison. His once flashy lifestyle and luxury cars were gone, replaced by the harsh reality of prison walls. The man who had tried to bury Zerwa under false accusations was now trapped by the very justice he had tried to escape. His fall was a warning to anyone who thought they could manipulate the system with lies and deceit. Zerwa's life changed dramatically after her release. People from all walks of life reached out to her, seeking advice or just wanting to hear her story. She became a voice for those who had been wronged, working to help others fight injustice. Her experience gave her a unique strength to inspire change in her city. Though she had every reason to be bitter, Zerwa chose forgiveness over hatred. She focused on rebuilding her life and continuing her fight against corruption. Her story was not just about personal victory, but about hope for a better future for Zundora. The city slowly healed from the shock of the mayor's murder and the betrayal within a family. Zundora's citizens learned to look deeper, to question those in power, and to stand up for truth no matter the cost. Zerwa's name became synonymous with integrity and bravery. In the end, Zerwa's redemption was complete. She had survived the darkest storm and emerged not only free, but stronger than ever. Her journey showed that even when faced with betrayal and false accusations, truth and justice could prevail. And for Kamenji, his long sentence was a harsh reminder that lies may build shadows, but truth always brings light. In a cruel twist of fate, Zerwa and Kamenji ended up locked together in the same cramped jail cell. The space was tiny, barely 6 feet wide, overcrowded and cold. It was meant to be temporary, just until Kamenji's official trial began. But those few days were heavy with unspoken tension. Kamenji sat silently, his eyes fixed on Zerwa, trying to understand how she could remain so calm after everything he had done. Meanwhile, Zerwa ignored his stare, absorbed in the pages of her book, as if the chaos around her meant nothing. The silence between them was thick, broken only by the distant sounds of other prisoners and the occasional clank of metal doors. Kamenji's mind raced, filled with regret and bitterness, but Zerwa's peaceful composure seemed impossible to crack. After a day or two, curiosity got the better of him. One night, while the cell was dim and still, he finally spoke. His voice was low, almost broken. "Why aren't you angry at me? After everything I did?" Zirwa looked up slowly, her eyes calm and steady. She closed her book gently before answering. "Because justice already did the work for me." There was no hate in her voice, no bitterness, just the quiet truth that her innocence had been proven and Kamenji's lies had been exposed. She didn't need to waste energy on anger, because the real victory had already been won. Her heart was light and her conscience clear. Kamenji lay down on the cold cement floor, unable to find rest. His mind was heavy with guilt and fear. The plans he had made, the web of deceit he spun, it all came crashing down on him. Meanwhile, Zirwa closed her eyes, sinking into a peaceful sleep. She was free, not just from prison bars, but from the burden of hatred and fear. Her soul was calm, knowing truth and justice were on her side. In that tiny cell, the difference between them was clear. Kamenji was trapped by his own lies, haunted by the shadow of what he had done. Zirwa was free inside, her spirit unbroken. Their shared space was the stage for this silent contrast. One man restless and broken, the other serene and victorious. It was a powerful reminder that true peace comes not from power or deceit, but from truth and integrity. Those days in the cell became a symbol of Zirwa's strength and Kamenji's downfall. The same walls held two very different people, one defeated by his own evil, the other rising above it all. And when the day came for Kamenji's trial, the city knew justice would be served, because the truth had already won in that quiet, cold cell. If you felt the pain of injustice, if you've ever seen someone you care about betrayed by lies and jealousy, then Zirwa's story speaks to your heart. It reminds us all that no matter how dark the situation seems, truth has a way of shining through. Even when the world turns against you, when false accusations try to break your spirit, hold on tight to your integrity and believe that justice will find a way. Zirwa didn't fight with anger or hate. She chose peace and patience, and in the end, that was her greatest strength. This story is not just about one girl or one city. It's about every person who has been wronged, every voice that has been silenced, and every soul that still dreams of fairness. Remember, sometimes the biggest battles are fought in silence, and sometimes the most powerful victories come from staying true to yourself. If Zirwa's journey moved you, if it reminded you to never give up no matter how tough life gets, please show your support by liking this video. Share it with someone who needs hope today, because stories like these can inspire change and courage in others. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that touch the heart and uplift the spirit. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey with us. Your support means the world. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and remember, truth always wins.